The News 4 Rundown begins with breaking news.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Hadley, and we begin with that breaking news out of Minneapolis. A 37-year-old woman is dead after being shot by an ICE agent this morning. Federal officials say the woman attempted to run over ICE agents who were conducting an operation in the city. We're going to play some incident, but I warn you, it may be disturbing. Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin says the agent fired what she called defensive shots into the windshield. The woman died inside the vehicle. Hundreds of people gathered near the scene, calling on ICE agents to leave their city. Tensions are running higher in the district, too, tonight. A group of protesters have gathered outside the ICE headquarters in southwest Washington. It's all in response to that shooting in Minnesota. So far, the gathering has been peaceful. Police with the Department of Homeland Security are guarding the building. President Trump posted on social media tonight calling the shooting self-defense and blaming what he calls the radical left. Also in northwest Washington tonight, a crash at 16th and L Streets near the White House that appears to involve about a half dozen vehicles. We know one person has died. News 4's Jackie Benson joins us live now. Jackie, you've been at that scene all evening. What can you tell us now?
Well, Jim, I can give you some new information. A short time ago, a spokesperson for the D.C. Police Department here at the scene told us that they are looking into the possibility that the vehicle that caused this horrific crash may have fled a traffic stop shortly before this crash happened, which was about 4 o'clock this afternoon. We have some video to show you the scene here. One person dead, a pedestrian, 3 people taken to the hospital by ambulance, 5 vehicles totaled in a crash where it was very obvious that there was a tremendous amount of force involved in causing that crash. And remember, the speed limit down here, 25 miles an hour, that is not the type of crash that results in the type of damage that you are seeing there. One man was taken into custody. We spoke to someone who was standing nearby at the time. He didn't want to be on camera, but here is a little bit of how he described what he saw right before this crash happened.
And as I was walking up 16th Street, I saw this other car racing down 16th Street towards L, going very, very fast. And the police car seemed to have gotten hung up in traffic at M Street, and then cars started separating to let him through. And then he was probably a block behind, and then the black car seemed to be taking a left here right onto L Street, and then next thing I know, I hear this giant crash.
So, Jim, you know how congested this area is. 16th and L, right in front of the Capitol Hilton. The suspect vehicle coming down 16th Street, okay? So coming down 16th Street at a high rate of speed. At 16th and L, he hits a pedestrian and then plows into vehicles that are actually sitting in traffic waiting to go north on 16th Street. So again, a big investigation here, and D.C. police tell us that officers from the Internal Affairs Division have also responded to this scene. Live in Northwest, Jackie Benson, News 4, back to you.
Yeah, busy location, as you say, and time of day, too. Jackie Benson. Jackie, thanks so much.
Yep.
The Trump administration is considering forcing the D.C. government to do away with its automated photo traffic enforcement program. Politico first reported the news. The program has generated hundreds of millions of dollars for the district over the years and has been credited with saving lives and reducing traffic collisions. Our Mark Seagraves has reaction from D.C. officials and from the White House.
The district has hundreds of automated traffic enforcement cameras across the city, issuing fines for violations including speeding, running red lights and stop signs, not yielding to pedestrians in crosswalks, and blocking bus lanes. Since the program began, traffic cameras have had supporters and critics. Congress has threatened to end the program in the past, but so far it hasn't followed through. Now, there's a new threat under the Trump administration. According to a document obtained by Politico, The U.S. Department of Transportation is proposing legislation that would prohibit D.C. from using photo enforcement. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Department of Transportation tells News4, the U.S. Department of Transportation is constantly examining a broad set of preliminary policy options on transportation matters. Many policy options are currently under internal review. Charles Allen chairs the D.C. Council's Transportation Committee.
Our automated traffic enforcement allows us to hold dangerous drivers accountable in a way that we simply had not been able to do otherwise. And if this were to pass, all that gets upended. What's your solution otherwise for how you hold dangerous drivers accountable? Congress seems to be much more interested in letting people drive dangerously through our city than about protecting our residents here. And we have to fight it. And that means working with our federal affairs offices, with the Senate and the House. It means making sure people understand this is about safety, and this action will make our city less safe, and we cannot allow that to happen.
Mayor Bowser issued a statement pointing out the public safety and budget impact. In addition to the public safety implications, removing the cameras would also create a $1 billion hole in D.C.'s financial plan, which would mean cuts to everyday city services. The traffic cameras are critical to the district's bottom line, raising hundreds of millions of dollars each year. According to D.C.'s chief financial officer, $139 million in 2023, $213 million in 2024, and more than $260 million in revenue in 2025.
And it's not just about the hole it would blow in the city budget. This is really about safety. I mean, for the first time, we've seen a 52% reduction in traffic injuries and deaths, and that's because we're finally holding accountable dangerous drivers. Nobody likes to get a ticket, and 9 times out of 10, when someone gets a ticket, they slow down, they drive more safely.
Today, the White House released updated dietary guidelines. The new recommendations encourage Americans to eat more protein and full-fat dairy, while cutting back on ultra-processed foods and added sugars. Guidance on saturated fat did not change, still capping intake at less than 10% of total daily calories. However, specific daily limits on alcohol were removed, with guidelines instead advising people to drink less alcohol for better overall health. The start of the new year marks a major milestone in the world of weight loss medication. This week, Novo Nordisk, the makers of Wegovy, released a new version of their GLP-1 drug that's expected to be more accessible to those who need it. Mauricio Casillas explains.
No needles, no injections. GLP-1s, the drugs that are reshaping weight loss, now come in a different form. Drug maker Novo Nordisk's Wegovy pill hit store shelves this week.
I've had patients who wouldn't go on the medication because they didn't want to inject themselves. It makes it much more accessible to the public.
There is also a price difference. The Wegovy pill costs about $149 a month for the starter dose. The injection typically runs closer to $349 a month, though Novo Nordisk is offering discounts for some new patients. And if your insurance covers it, it could be as low as $25 a month, according to the company. So does the pill work as well as the shot? It's pretty close. In a recent trial, people taking the pill lost an average of 13.6% of their body weight after 64 weeks. And a 2021 study of Wegovy injections showed about 14.9% weight loss.
And it's transformative. It's something that I've been working towards my whole career, is moving individuals towards a healthier lifestyle. And this is a tool to help us to do that.
There are also some key differences. The pill must be taken every day on an empty stomach, at least 30 minutes before you eat or drink anything, and the injection just once a week. Side effects are largely the same.
You might have more, like I said, burping. You may have more, stomach pain. You may have some diarrhea or nausea associated with the medication.
Insurance coverage, that's still a big question. An analysis from GoodRx shows coverage for obesity drugs became more restrictive in 2025, though Wegovy coverage did improve slightly compared to 2024. Dr. Ricciardi says the long-term effects still need to be studied and monitored, but he says overall, this is a win for patients.
It really catapults them, or it's a catalyst in helping them to do other things along the healthy lifestyle behavior because they are seeing a positive change.
And there could be even more options soon because another GLP-1 pill from Eli Lilly is expected to get FDA approval later this year, possibly as soon as the spring. So, would you consider taking a GLP-1 pill?
So you just heard about the new daily version from Wegovy, a move that could make these medications more accessible and easier to use. For a lot of folks, the big question goes beyond convenience and cost, though. What does it mean for your long-term health? To help us break it all down is Dr. Diane Hess, the Chief Medical Officer of eMed. She joins us now live. Dr. Hess, you work with patients who take GLP-1 therapies. What exactly do they do in the body that leads to weight loss, and what's responsible use of the medication?
So responsible use is being supervised by a physician. You don't want to do any kind of program where they just send you the medicine in the mail and there's no oversight. At eMed, we have monthly check-ins with doctors, and how the medicines work is that the medicine makes you feel full. So the GLP-1 stimulates your brain to feel full. It also stimulates your pancreas to secrete more insulin if your glucose is high. It slows digestion, so you feel fuller for longer. So your stomach is actually full with the food you might have eaten in the morning, still at 8 o'clock at night.
Wow. Does that have to do with the term food noise? What do we mean by that?
So food noise actually is working on the receptors in your brain. So it actually decreases the desire for those foods. So for people, it's almost like turning off the radio. Like you don't hear that food noise, that dopamine surge for cravings, things like that.
Dr. Hess, why are we seeing such a surge in people taking GLP-1s across different ages, not just for diabetes any longer?
Because they work. So GLP-1s, if you're overweight with a risk factor or if you're obese, these medicines are life-changing. We know that obesity is caused by multi-factors. So it could be genetics, lifestyle. You could have medications that cause you to be obese. So these medications are giving people a new chance on life who know that they've done the work, they've changed their diet, they've exercised, and they still can't take the weight off. And then for some people who, mothers who gained weight after their pregnancy and they can't lose it. These are changing the lives of people. And I think the pills are going to change the lives for men as well.
So how do people experience the best outcomes, doctor, for long-term weight loss?
So the best outcome, somebody has to exercise. It should include some weight training or resistance training because you don't want to lose muscle mass because you're losing weight, but you're also losing muscle at the same time. A smaller amount of muscle, but you can lose muscle. So you want to be active. You want to lift weights. You want to do resistance training. You want to go on a hike with your family. You want to eat enough protein, but about 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo per day. Your doctor can help you calculate that. You want to drink enough water because these medicines do have side effects. You can get constipated. You want to make sure you eat small amounts, and you don't want to eat the wrong foods, because what I always remind my patients of is that yes, you're less hungry, but you have to eat the right foods. If you eat French fries or pizza and that oil and that fat is sitting in your stomach for hours on end, that's when you get the side effects. That's why we want to have really strict, I would say, supervision, oversight, and a behavioral program with the drug.
Wow. The change and the difference that it's made in so many lives already has just been dramatic. Dr. Hess, we can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still ahead tonight on the News 4 Rundown, 2 former USAID workers are not giving up on their mission to assist other parts of the world, how they're using their skills to make a global impact. Tonight, we're getting a clearer picture of the toll President Trump's layoffs and the government shutdown took on Maryland. Fresh numbers from the Bureau of Labor Stats. Reports in the banner highlight that the scale of the losses are pretty tremendous. Since layoffs began at the start of Trump's second term, Maryland has seen nearly 25,000 federal jobs disappear. The biggest hit came in October, roughly 10,000 jobs lost in just 1 month. And from January through November, no state lost more federal jobs than Maryland. The U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, was shut down during those Trump administration layoffs, and many employees had just 10 minutes to pack up their desks. But several of those fired workers say it hasn't stopped them from wanting to serve people in need. News 4's Amy Cho spoke with the two former USAID workers who've started a new volunteer group called Crisis in Care to help people all over the world.
When Deborah Khalil and Mari Mendenhall were deciding on careers, they both felt drawn to public service.
I always thought of USAID as my dream job, really. Even before I got there, I thought, this is where I want to end up.
Both spent 18 years at the U.S. Agency for International Development, working on HIV programs for people in need around the world. Mari was also helping start a program for victims of sexual abuse in Ethiopia. But when the Trump administration began dismantling USAID, the women say they were terminated, forced to abandon the communities they'd served for years.
This wasn't just a job that we were going to get a paycheck at. It was really who we were and who our identity was, and it felt like it was just sort of ripped apart and literally thrown in the trash. So it was very traumatic, almost makes me cry.
But they knew they wanted to keep the momentum going on HIV services. It's why they started a volunteer group called Crisis in Care. They hold events like happy hours and comedy shows to raise money for the community groups they used to work with. So far, they've brought in more than $116,000. Much of it from former USAID colleagues.
It's, I think, a testimony to USAID as well, that when all of this happened, we were fired, but the money that we had, we wanted to contribute to the local partners that we'd worked with in the past.
One of the groups they've donated to offers HIV services in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Their director says they're struggling to stay afloat without USAID, which for him has been heartbreaking.
To see desperate people, vulnerable people, to knowing what you could do to help, but being unable to do so.
Dr. Bombi Kabongo says he often pays for patients out of his own pocket, and he's grateful for the donations from Crisis in Care.
More than a lifesaver for us as an organization and for our patients.
People have really appreciated the chance to connect and do something for a good cause.
Foreign aid workers now starting a new chapter in service to others. Amy Cho, News 4.
All right, Amelia joins us now. Pretty warm day compared to what we've seen over the past month or two.
Oh my gosh, you're exactly right, Jim. This has been the warmest day since before Thanksgiving.
Whoa.
Incredible. Yeah, high temperature is 63. Looking at your weather headlines, tomorrow it's another nice day. It's going to be a little bit cooler, temperatures in the mid 50s, but still pleasant overall. On Friday, the clouds are back while the temperatures are still running above normal with plenty of clouds and the chance for drizzle. I actually think Thursday is going to be better outside than Friday, and by Friday evening, maybe even a little bit earlier, some rain will move into the area, leading to a rainy day on Saturday. I'm going to be timing out the rain here in just a second with future weather. But right now, our temperatures are in the 40s and 50s, 55 in the district, 49 in Silver Spring, 51 degrees currently in Laurel. Now, tomorrow morning, it's a chilly start, so the kids definitely want the puffy coat as they head off to school. I let my son get away with just kind of a pullover today, but you'll probably want a little bit more of a jacket tomorrow. As we head throughout the day, a mix of clouds and sun. By lunch, temperatures are in the low 50s. Our average high, 45 degrees, so temperatures at lunchtime already above normal. We warm to a high of 55, and as we head throughout the day, we're going to look at light winds. So I'm going to show you future weather out there on Friday. This is 8 a.m. Notice how we're dry across the area, and again, most of Friday day is dry, except for the chance for some light drizzle to develop. That being said, we head toward 4 or 5 o'clock. Here's the timestamp. Notice the rain starting to move into the area, especially western Maryland and northern Virginia. Some scattered showers on Friday night. And then Saturday, it's just rain showers throughout the day. We look to pick up nearly an inch of rain. This is lunchtime on Saturday. Notice the potential for even some moderate rain to move through the area. As we head on into Saturday night, we dry out, and then the backside of the storm system impacts us on Sunday. So that high of 51, that's actually your Sunday morning. As we head throughout the day, temperatures will fall into the 40s. So wind chills on Sunday in the 30s and 40s with blustery winds. It's a cold day on Monday, a high temperature of 44. Tuesday, Wednesday, not bad, highs in the low 50s, and then 40s return on Thursday.
All right, we're 1 month away from the Winter Olympics in Milan and Cortina, and the focus this week will be on U.S. figure skating championships. Some history-making black figure skaters like Mabel Fairbanks, Debbie Thomas, and Surya Benally have broken barriers in the past, but the sport still faces challenges with diversity and accessibility. Our Jumi Olabanji reports a local foundation is trying to break the ice even more for the next generation.
Alexa Gasparotto has been figure skating since she was 4 years old. She says she loves the artistry of the sport and the feeling of gliding across the ice with the wind running through her hair. And she's a history maker herself. She's the first ever black woman in the world to land a triple axel in competition. And she's not slowing down. This 22-year-old has big dreams.
The 2030 Olympics.
But before she can go to the French Alps, Alexa is in intense training here in the DMV, upping her game thanks to an organization called Diversify Ice.
I feel like when I first joined Diversify, nobody really knew who I was, but would see me here and there, not really know my name or where I was from or what I was capable of until I joined Diversify.
Diversify Ice is the brainchild of Joel Savory. He created the Fellowship and Foundation program in 2017. A skater himself, he admits it was hard to navigate the sport with limited cultural representation that created barriers for young skaters who looked like him.
I was definitely priced out of the sport before I really even got started, but I knew I had a talent in the sport, and I really wanted to help more people to achieve their goals within the sport.
Savory spends his days expanding access to figure skating by awarding scholarships to up-and-coming athletes while also providing mentorship, training opportunities, and networking.
So I really want to make sure they felt that they had a community within the sport that they can belong and feel connected to.
And that connection is especially important to ice dancing partners Anael Quavy and Jan Hamua. The cousins are from Montgomery County and compete together in junior ice dancing. They credit their coaches and Diversify Ice for getting them ready to compete at the U.S. National Championships in St. Louis.
Diversify Ice has really opened my eyes to seeing people just like me in the sport. Has made me feel a little bit more comfortable in the space, knowing that there's people around me who's going through the exact same thing.
I've been that little girl before, kind of looking, except I didn't have many people to look up to. I didn't see people like me on the ice. So I kind of had to just push myself to be that person on the ice. And now I'm really proud to be that person that these other little kids, other little brown kids can look up to as well.
Little kids like 9-year-old Farrington Kirk, who hopes to one day be competing on a national level.
Well, one day I saw these two girls on the ice skating rink and they were doing really cool jumps. And I remember telling myself I really want to be able to do that.
What's your favorite part?
Is when you jump up, it feels like you're flying.
It's that feeling that also drew 12-year-old Skylar Latua Peguero to the ice. Both she and her mom/coach say Diversify Ice has given her the tools to succeed.
She looks different than most of the skaters, and Mommy, look, I can do this too. So she's looking forward to be kind of an inspiration, maybe of some sort, to the younger generation.
My biggest dream is to be an inspiration and for little girls to turn on the TV and want to skate because they look like me. And it's really important to me.
And that's what's important to all of these skaters, a world where the future of skating is colorful. In Laurel, Jumi Olabanji, News 4.
30 days from the opening ceremony, and tonight Jumi is in St. Louis for the U.S. Figure Skating Championships. We'll hear more from her throughout the week. And that's going to do it for us on the News 4 Rundown for this Wednesday night. Be sure to join us right back here for News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Jim Adley. Have a great night, everybody.